Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for the great invitation. My name is Hatem Bugshan. I am the head of Big Innovation Center in Middle East. Big Innovation Center is a hub of global companies, government authorities, innovators, and academia. We bring together all these combined forces together to solve common challenges that cannot be solved by a single party. So today we are talking about how important is the governance of AI and how it should be created. But before talking deep about the governance of AI, let's go through about the process of industrial revolution we had. In the first industrial revolution, we had the steam engine, and then in the second one, we have the electricity, and we moved to the computer age and electronics. Each of these technologies were considered as what we call general purpose technologies, that it has been used across all the industries to change the structure of the economy of the society as a whole. So in the fourth industrial revolution, we have AI, blockchain, IoT. Those will be our next general purpose technologies in the sense that it will change the structure of our society as a whole, the economy, how it works, how all the actors are coming together to create value and generate income to the economy. Okay, let's review the objective of our vision 2030 is to increase the GDP and reduce unemployment from 11 to around 7%, and contribution of the SMEs to grow from 20% to 35%. Okay, so how to use AI as a general purpose technology to achieve these targets? Okay, this will be the challenge and the question we try to answer in this session. Okay, let me get you back before about the old ICT ecosystem model, before the introduction of the internet. Before we have like 4 key elements or 4 key layers we had. We have the final consumer, we have the level for the content and applications, and then we have the level for the network operator who deliver that content to the end user, and then we have the network infrastructure provider who provide for us the infrastructure. Okay, the ecosystem, how it used before, how it works. It was working based on more like a simple linear model in the sense that the network element provider will help the operator who create the content to deliver to the final consumer. Okay, so it's a simple linear process. Then the income will be generated from the final consumer. So now the role of the final consumer is just to generate income and get money. That's it. But later on, once we had the internet and the introduction of Web 2 technologies, it helped the end user to interact with the companies, with their peers, to create more new contents, new applications. So we have been seeing a new role of the end user, moving from a source of generating income to a source of generating content and innovation. So the changing the role of the players in that ecosystem is one of the effects of introducing a new GPT or a new general purpose technologies, which was the internet. So we have this new ecosystem have been generated. We have seen now the consumer will interact with the operator using Web 2 technology to help them how to create new content. And also we have seen the layer of the content and application provider. New companies such as YouTube, Facebook, Google have been introduced to the market and overtaken this layer from the network operator who have been dominating that layer before. So what I want to say that always the introduction of a new GPT or a new general purpose technology will destroy the old ecosystem, bring a new one with new players and new relationship. So in order to get the full benefit of the new model, you have to understand or at least to realize the impact of that technology on the economy, on the structure of the society as a whole. So in order to to understand the reality behind the evolution. Actually, any system starts to be stable. Then once we introduce a new technology, the relationship started to be disordered or affected by the impact of the technology, and we are entering a stage of having a more of disordered relationship till we are finalized with a total chaos, random relationship, and the system will renew itself to establish a new order. So in each revolution, we are passing through these three stages, from order, disorder, to chaos, to a new order. So this will be the cycle. So now we are in the process of adopting AI, blockchain, IoT. So now we are moving from the stable system, and soon we will see a little bit of disorder in the system. We'll see a new market players, a new relationship that will destroy our system. So in order to, as I said, to get the full benefit behind introducing AI, we have to have a good governance of AI. And in order to design the best practice or the best governance of AI, we have to realize the impact of AI, how it's going to impact our society, our economy, the whole system we are living in. This will be the main thing. So I will go now briefly to discuss about what are the main impact of the AI in our economy. Of course, we have data ethics, we have security issues, we have inequality, we have ethics regarding algorithm bias, accountability. All these issues will be discussed now. Okay. Of course, data, as you know, everybody is saying data is the oil. Without data, AI will be nothing at all. Okay, you understand. But the AI in itself will change the concept of data privacy and accountability, in the sense that in order to have more value from AI, you have to feed it with more data, okay? So the exchange of data or flow of data has to be flexible, okay, with no issue to have a flexible process of data sharing, okay? But the problem here is our privacy and ownership. We have been used to talk about data ownership and data privacy. But to be honest, does the old concept of ownership or data privacy still valid nowadays? That's the question. Why? Let's give you an example. Now I am sharing the data of X person, okay? And he authorized me to share his data. But sometimes the data for the X person might have data for his friends, his family, his schools, other relevant data. So even if I have been authorized to use a person's data, the other person's data will be leaked. So is the data ownership or privacy still valid? Do we have to refine the concept of ownership? Do the users have to, give up some level of their privacy to the public for the sake of the whole benefit of the economy? So these questions are really debatable and controversial. We need to have really a debatable discussion to understand what will be the win-win situation for all the stakeholders. Also, the current consent mechanism is not flexible. It's us, the user, either opt in or out. So either take it or leave it. So even if the user would not have the desire to share their data when he would like to access any website, but he is forced because there's no choice. It's only a binary choice, is either take it or leave it. So we have to look for other alternative models to be flexible, to have different scales of privacy or different scale of content. The other issue is about the ability to negotiate the data sharing. Okay, usually the large companies, incumbent operators, they have the skills how to write the contract, how to negotiate for data sharing. But the SMEs, the small company, medium enterprise, they don't have enough skills to negotiate on their data contracts. So the lack of skill of how to write or negotiate data will create a gap between these companies, or will have an equality issue. So it becomes a market for winner takes all. So there is also an argument here. So in order to create a value for the whole economy and the society, should we put the argument of social contract with data, for example? We are now paying tax, the global concept that you pay tax in order to get a public service behind it. So you are like paying something to the government or the whole society to get in return a public service. So should we deal with data based on the social contract concept that the users will be not enforced or encouraged that if you are going to would like to get a public service, you have to release your data, okay, as an asset to the public. Based on that, you will be able to receive these public services like car insurance, awareness about accidents, weather forecasting, blah, blah. So if you want to get this public service, you have to enter in the argument of social contract agreement with the whole society and government to release your data and accept that you will share your data unless you are asked for no. So what we have been talking now is more about sharing the data. This is the importance. It's not about now the concept of who owns the data and who doesn't own it. It's about how we are flexible in sharing the data. So the discussion now has to move from data ownership to data governance. This is the most important thing now. So in order to have like a successful data sharing model, we have to create a trust between users, between the owners of the data, okay? We have to create a transparent environment. Everybody has to know how the data is being used, why it is being shared, and the accountability. And this is the main challenges here. Accountability as a user. If my data are going to be used in X machine or X solution, okay? And it will show a result, an output. There is a responsibility or accountability role that I should know exactly how the data being used to achieve that result. Okay? It's fair. But that's not the issue here. The issue is that, okay, the design of the algorithm become more complicated, okay? So how do we make it simple or clear to the public, non-technical citizen or person, that why the machine has achieved this result? So this gap of education or educated public about the algorithm will make the concept of accountability a little challenging in AI. So, and even the case that the developer of AI or algorithm, if his solution is being embedded in different layers of solutions, himself, he will get lost. He doesn't know how to achieve that result because his system is not a standalone system. It is embedded in different other systems. So we cannot always claim that he has the role to question for the accountability. So the challenge here, the accountability traditional concept has to be redefined and make it simple to go with AI development. So the question could come up that should the government or public sector have some initiative to help those challenges to be solved? For example, do we have to build any like data trust bodies which can negotiate the data on behalf of non-technical user? Because if I'm not technical user, I don't know much about what are the regulation, how to write the contract. So should the government create such data trust body talking on behalf of users and to negotiate the data sharing contracts? Moving from data now to other issue about unemployment and inequalities. One of the main concerns behind AI that everybody is saying AI will create unemployment and inequality. Okay, but let us get back about once we introduce the internet and other technologies, it's the same thing. We had to educate the public that they have to learn new languages of programming in order to cope up with the changes. So that's the same here. AI, of course, the machine will overtake human role in some part, but as a human, we have to upgrade our skill to move to other part in the ecosystem. So we have to upgrade our skills in order to do things which AI cannot do it itself or a machine. So this is the question, actually. When we talk about AI, everybody is focusing about the hard skills. It's about STEM, science, technology, engineer, mathematics, programming. okay? But you are forgetting one important side, which is about soft skill, is how to create more skills about problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, management, coordination, emotional intelligence. So simply, let's focus on the skills which AI cannot do it itself, as simple as it is. Okay, so it's not about the hard skills alone. We have to complement the introduction of hard skill in our school with the soft skills, the skills on how to negotiate, how we have to create teamwork, how to think more systemic and different way of emotional intelligence. So the Saudi population shows that 70% of our population, there is an opportunity of AI being helping disabled people to perform well in their business environment, okay, to upskill and upgrade their working performance to match the normal human being in their business environment. There is an opportunity for AI to achieve, even if it was like visual recognition or hearing or physical disability. AI, there are different solutions around the world, okay? This is an opportunity, and the challenge, if we miss this group of population and not equip them with the necessary technology to upgrade their skills, we'll have a gap among the population. So diversity is important. We have to be more diversified in engaging all the categories of our citizens in AI deployment and development. So lack of diversity is very important. We have to really solve this issue. Also, in most of the conferences, they have found that only 80% of the paper's authors are women. Only 80%. So we have to ask the question, why women are not well involved in the development of AI and more engaged in AI research? That's a good question. So what I want to say about the technology itself, there are different solutions serving like disabled people, different solutions in the classrooms to educate, to help to transform the environment of education in our colleges and schools. But to be honest, the problem is not about the technical solution at all. The problem is, does it serve the purpose of applying AI? Does it serve the need for the students or teacher? Okay? We have to talk more about the stage of adoption. Okay, what are the obstacles behind adopting this AI in the classroom, in business environment? Does it achieve what is promising to achieve? If not, so why? Okay, it's not about technical, it's about adoption of technology. So you can see that actually the adoption of the technology between the users and the developer and other players in the ecosystem, such as the government regulators, all have to contribute to the process of adoption AI in different contexts. Okay, so it's actually about the micro elements. Okay, so how do we create trust between user and the solution, that their solution is achieving what is promised to achieve, and if not, so why? So what we are doing in Big Innovation Center, we are deep diving, okay, more onto these micro elements and trying to figure out how to make a protocol between the developer of the solution, the user. When I say the user, I mean the company or school who are using the technology, and the end user, like students or teacher, okay? We are studying a protocol in step by step. How to have a successful solution in classroom, for example. What will be the criteria? It's simple that every company is saying we have the best solution in school, the best solution achieving blah, 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 blah. But the question, is there any criteria that can define for us best? What does best mean? This is the challenge. Good, when we say good, what does good look like? Do you have any criteria? Actually, no. So in order to define the criteria, what does good solution mean in classrooms, okay? We have to draw a protocol that will guide us what will be the purpose of applying AI, the ethics, the safety criteria, the trust, sustainability, impact, in all the stages of the delivery of the service. For example, once the solution is created, till it's been handled by the organization, till it has been also used by the end user. on these cycles. In each cycle, what will be the main elements to achieve the best solution? So it's a process of studying the micro interaction between elements, not to look at the situation from the macro level, to go more deep in the micro level. Okay? So we intend always to draw a map, who is who, to figure out who are the stakeholders in AI industry, and try to achieve the trust and protocol between each user. So from all the issues we have been described, you can notice that the issues are more complex, controversial. There is no single right answer. It depends. It needs more discussion. It's debatable, okay? And they are interrelated. So data could result in equality. The issue of skills also could result in equality. So the issues are so interrelated, and it affects multi actors at different layers. So the issue is not about technical, it's more about the governance. How to put good regulation, good protocol to make these solutions adoptable. That's the challenge. It's not about technical. We have so many technical, but we miss the right guide or protocol how to adopt it. So we don't have to focus only at the macro level. We have to go more to open this black box of the micro level, how the users are interact together, how they exchange the value, how the value are created together. So that's we say the governance of AI should be open, okay? To understand the issue of governance, let's talk about the theory of game theory, okay? The game theory said there is always a layer of institutional governance where the rule of the game are being set, okay, by the authorities, by all the government bodies, and we have a level of playing the game where all the adoptable, all the users are coming together to create the value based on the regulation. So we have to study more what will be the feedback and the interaction between these micro level entities, okay, and feed it back to the macro level of the authorities. The old model of the economy is called like command and control, where you have a top-down approach. All the regulation are set by the government. Then we asked, or we expect all the sectors to move or to respond based on this regulation, and you are expecting a certain result. But usually when the government didn't achieve the certain result, they always don't consider these micro level elements. They always think that because the plan is not good, or the designer of the strategy was not really an expert in his field. It's not the case. The situation is the environment become really complex. No one can understand what's going on alone, because it is the different sectors coming together, okay, to create value. Okay, and the feedback between these sectors on these players affecting the activity of each sector. For example, I am an actor from education side. My education, of course, will affect the healthcare in somehow. So all the sectors are interrelated. The system becomes more complex. No one can understand the behavior of the local entities. So what we really would like to achieve is to realize that we are living in a more complex adaptive system. So in order to get sense of why your results are not getting the right feedback, you have to open this black box and engage all those players in designing the governance with you and getting their feedback and the response before coming up with a final solution. So in such environment, planning or put a strategy could be a solution, but it's not enough. Always to put a plan or strategy will fit for the purpose once you have a clear problem definition, But in our case, we are in a transition period, going from one industrial revolution to another industrial revolution. Lots of variables are changing. The uncertainty level is so high, no one can predict the changing process. So planning is not the right tool now. Now we need more like creating a social capital, an ecosystem where all the players coming together with the government to have a quick feedback and evidence-based mechanism. We test, we accept to fail. We try some solution and moving more about a trail-based approach. Okay, so for example, the abstract word, usually in setting the plan or a strategy in any authority in the government, we always take advisors or experts in their field to do the plan. Okay, but we need more. We need to engage with the real world, the community, to open this black box, to make a real interaction, feedback, knows what the actual problem is going on, okay? And accept failure, accept that we will fail, but we have to learn from our mistake. So we have to put a plan and then feed it to the community and get the result out and try to readjust it till all the community having an agreement about what is going on, agreement about the good solution, and having a win-win situation. So this process is called more of an open innovation mechanism. So as Big Innovation Center in UK, we have been working around 4 years with government, while working with the UK Parliament. We're having members from House of Lords, from House of Commons, together with our partners from the private sectors and academia and innovators. Together, we create a social ecosystem. So that's what we need. We are missing here. We are missing social capital. We are focusing on accelerator solution. That's not the case. We really need to know the feedback. What's going on? Nobody knows. Nobody can tell us why the solution is not doing right. We have to create such social capital, supporting the way of feedback mechanism and engaging all the citizens together to create the governance of AI. And as a Big Innovation Center now in Middle East, we're trying to adopt this model to apply it in our region. So here's how we do our meeting in UK with people from government, from private sector. We are creating, as you can see, more social capital between different people from government, private sector. We have more efficient approach to design government that fit the need for the citizen. Okay, so thank you, and sorry for taking a long time. Any question I can answer.
Do we have any question?
Thank you for the presentation. It's very informative. Thank you for everything. My name is Liwa Abu Khair. We are venture capital. We invest in startups. And whenever we go for an AI-relevant startups, we always try to see the business norm in the AI solution. Okay. Where the business will take it, how you can deploy it in the business level, how you can really make it a justifiable case. Now, when you told me that the governance on the data, the governance on the whole system, we find the problem how you can govern the code, the design of the algorithm itself.
Okay.
What tools we can make sure that the algorithm will deliver the results that the business will need? You tell me the data, okay, I can understand the governance of the data, I can understand the whole process, I can understand the whole ecosystem. Yeah. But how can you really make sure that the algorithm itself, the one who designed the algorithm, is with the business mentality, they can deliver the case? How you can govern the code itself?
Yeah, to be honest, this is an issue. This is one of the main issues in AI, that you mean accountability issue, okay? If you have like an output didn't achieve what it's promising to achieve, or achieving different result, a bias algorithm design, how to control that? That do you mean? Yes, that's what we have to increase the level of transparency a little bit. And this is an issue. If I have a real answer, I will be the first one in the world to get a right answer. It's debatable. There are some suggestions, but till now we don't have a final agreement. One of the suggestions is to create like an ethical board in any company, okay, who will have the responsibility to monitor and ensure that the design of the code are done in more like an ethical manner, and in somehow put some like comments or explanation guide about the steps of the algorithm. I mean, more at high level, like guide about what are the steps being designed to achieve that target. But
Any
still,
other question?
it's a challenge nowadays. Yes, I know, I agree with you.
Any other question?
Yeah, this is Talha again. One example, whatever you're talking about from a social experiment, like if we talk about US, there are 5 million truck drivers now, and if they start using autonomous vehicles, then we remove 5 million from the market, and if we consider 3 dependents, then 15 million people from the market are removed, and then from a company side, they will reduce the manpower, so they have the profits, right? But going forward, two years down the line, you see, I removed 15 million people from buying from the market. So in the end, I'm losing as well. So how do we govern this? Even if you put a ethical board as well, still from a holistic view, it will not work. But for the company who implemented this, for them, it's a win situation. But from a country perspective, it's not.
I agree with you, 20%. You are 100% right, yes. So this has gone more like a higher level. So if it's not about, if the developer is not part of the company or organization, so he could be like a freelancer or like individual and developers. So we have to put like a kind of general authority at the national level that approve any like process or having like a clear standard or guidelines. What does ethical means? So any developer has to follow that steps or guidelines before like developing or having a license to developing the solution. Could be a solution, could not. To be honest, it's still challenging. And as I said, the problem is well known, but the solution is not. So all the governments is trying now to figure out what are the solutions. So I assume that we find somehow to put a higher level of governance at the national level. But if it's about the private sector within the organization, it could be about creating like ethics board. But at the higher level, I assume there should be a response from the government to have like a higher authority to approve any like or make a standard or guidelines for designing solution.
Any more questions from the audience?
When we talk about the government intervention, is there, in the architecture itself, can we have a layer on which government can implement its policies so that the rules, whatever the AI is following, is actually modified or matched to the government's intervention? Is it in any way possible in the architecture or in the framework, whatever AI is developing and the discussions are going on?
Yes.
Is there any layer for the government or the regulatory body to have their rules implemented, imposed?
You mean to implement the AI regulation or test it before having a general?
In general.
No. You mean once the government put a regulation of AI, how to test it? How to test it? Yes. That we have to encourage what we call more of living innovation lab or open innovation lab, like social lab. This will be like also could call policy labs. We have like a small labs where we test our policies, okay, at different scale and see the feedback and follow the trial error approach before having a more generalized like regulation around the nation. So this is how it goes. The process is about open innovation 2.0 means that you have to accept failure at lower scale, learn from it, and then you scale fast. So before putting this regulation to the market, okay, and a wider perspective, we should create more of small like policy labs, social lab, innovation lab, okay, where we bring all the stakeholders relevant to that issue from public civil society, public sector, private sector, and academia. And we test this regulation in the real environment using the private sector contribution to see does it serve they need or not. And then we have feedback, so we have to accept this phase of trial error approach till we achieve like a real commitment or agree from the whole community. Then we can generalize it to the whole notion.
Another question.
Yes.
When some contributor to the AI data
Yeah.
is actually all in a sudden, if he decides to pull out of the contribution, a country for that matter.
No, sorry, could you repeat your question?
No. When it is in the whatever the discussions
Yes.
going on, you showed us. This is basically on the policies.
Yes.
If some contributor of data on which some decisions are made, one party actually stops giving the data.
Yes.
If something like that happens, some country decides to pull out of that contribution of data, then is there any governance or is there any way to handle it?
You mean to encourage the citizen or company to share their data? Yes, this we could. One of the main argument is social contract argument. Social contract that, okay, if you want to receive like a public service in the country, you have to pay tax, right? If you want to give free education, free healthcare, you have to pay tax, right? So data will be the same thing. Data should enter the argument of social contract between the individual and society as a whole. So if you would like to receive such public service operated or powered by AI, you have to share your data. If you're not sharing the data, you're outside of the loop. This one way you have to deal with it.
Any more questions? Okay, I guess. All right, so that's about it, I guess. Thank you very much, Hatem. It was a very interesting session.